Memories of teaming with Billy Kidman.
You know, I liked Kidman when I was watching WCW when I was growing up. Like, I was like, oh, he's another guy I can relate with. He's about my size. And if I could grow into being a pro wrestler, I could see myself going into the mold of this guy. And, like, he'd be someone I really... Oh, thanks a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Get yourself one?
I got one right here.
Cheersio. He's a guy I can relate with. My size, I really like the style. I mean, I saw him do the Shooting Star before I saw Jushin Liger do it. You know, Jushin Liger, I just had reference because I had heard he was the first one to actually attempt it. So
was he really though?
That's what I understood.
Was he really though?
That's what I understood. Yeah. So I thought Kidman was awesome. You know what I mean? And you know, and then I followed him when he was in WWE for a bit. You know, he had like the Invasion match and stuff, and I was like, oh, this is cool, and it was cool. You know, got to WWE. I was teaming with Brian. That was good as I was like, this is awesome. Good team with my best friend. Everything's great. He had to leave for, you know, he just wasn't, you know, he needed to go clear his head and go do his own thing for a bit and refresh, and that was totally understandable. I was fairly new at the time, so I was like, well, fuck, I'll stick around. So then it just got to a matter of like, oh, well, these guys both have dark hair, and it's kind of short, and like, they do similar stuff. Yeah, they do similar stuff, kind of flippy stuff. Let's put these guys together and see what happens. And I mean, it was flattering, it was cool, because for me, it was my first taste of success.
No. I hate to cut you off.
No, please.
There was a point where we did a match, and Paul just did a Shooting Star. I think. It was I think it was against Matt.
It was Matt and Shannon. Yeah, in Madison Square Garden, actually. It was my first house shows.
And, you know, boom, I hit him with the something. I go down to all fours. Paul comes off Shooting Star. This motherfucker, you know, decides to make an issue of all places in Gorilla. And I remember Paul sticking up for himself and saying something about, inventing the headlock. Or, you know, oh, okay.
Well, he goes, hey, man, what, are you going to steal my move? You going to steal my move every night? Or something like that? And he wasn't even doing the Shooting Star anymore, right? And I was like, what did it say? It was like,
it was something about the clothesline or the headlock or whatever. But he called them out on his shit, man. You did.
Yeah, it was just, you know. Because I've always felt like mine was...
You weren't trying to fuck the motherfucker, man. Hell no. No way.
No, I was just trying to do my thing, get myself seen. But, you know, so they eventually teamed us up, and it was what it was. I felt like he wasn't really into it because I felt like he knew that they weren't really interested in him, and they were just kind of throwing him whatever they could. Whereas with me, it was like, oh, well, he's new, let's throw him what we can. Or let's throw him this. We're not doing anything with Kidman, let's throw them together. And where I'd hoped that it had been kind of more of a mentoring situation, it turned out to be just kind of like more of like good cop, bad cop. Like, that's not even really a real analogy. Just like, we were cool when it was just he and I. We put any of the other boys in the room and he'd just bury me or like put himself over my expense.
How common is that, man?
It's so common.
The way personalities change
it's
with
disgusting.
the other personalities in the room.
It's disgusting.
You put one other personality in this room and another personality will change.
It's
you
disgusting.
take them out of the room and, oh, I'm a nice guy now. It's fucked. It's fucked. Yeah, it's fucked.
And I mean, there was a big age difference, you know what I mean? And we didn't talk, you know, outside of matches or anything like that. And he was married and this and that. And I got along with Tori and everything was cool. I mean, and I told him, you know, I never was like, hey, maybe I should do the Shooting Star. Like, it was never an issue. I just, out of respect, I was like, hey, you know, I'll do it whenever I'm allowed to do it. And, but I think I just kind of got fed up with, like, are we a team or what? You know what I mean? Like, are we a team or what? Are you going to stand up for me or are you going to throw me into the bus? Pick your side. And I kind of got fed up with it. And even when we started having this feud with the Dudleys, to me, which was really fascinating because it was your guys I had watched on TV again. And I was like, oh, these guys are a real storied tag team, even though I don't think that's the case anymore.
But still, man, they've done a lot of shit.
Phenomenal. Yeah,
man.
And they've done all these TLC matches and stuff. I was like, fuck yeah, I get to be in the ring with these guys? Fuck yeah. And so where I'd hoped that Kidman would have stood up for me as a tag partner, he would save his own ass most often than not. And Bubba had an issue with me for whatever reason. I think he was trying to test me or didn't like this new kid coming in or whatever. And I was trying to hold my own because I wasn't going to let this fucking guy walk over me, you know. I knew better than that. And we had matches at times where he would take his fucking belt off after the show or after the match and just start whipping me without telling me and shit like that. I just don't think is whatever. If you're gonna hit me with the fucking belt, the belt buckle, you're a fucking faggot if you're gonna tell me about that. That's just not cool in my opinion. When the camera's not even rolling.
No, that's flat out low.
The camera's not even rolling.
Nobody's
getting your belt off.
Nobody's getting over, man. Nobody's getting over. That's
they put us over, you guys. Like, are you that big of a fucking bitch? And I just found Bubba to be a real political fucking baby. Just a real pussy. You know what I mean? And there came a point when I stiffed the fuck out of him in a house show up in Canada, and he just fell and fat fucking flop out on the floor and just laid there. And the whole match changed.
Because that's the way bullies work. You fucking hit them in the face and they're done.
I formed the fuck out of him, and he just flopped over and fell on the floor and just stayed there for the rest of the match. Like, we had just improvised this finish and shit, and it was like, and then afterwards, it was like, hey, where were you, man? Where was the? He was like, oh, just I was outside getting my breath, and I was just like. And then Kidman, he was like, hey man, you hit me kind of stiff. And that was the one time Pete stood up and was like, oh, maybe he meant to hit you. And he goes, oh yeah, kid, you think you got your stripes to hit me? And I was like, I don't know. You know, and he's like, oh, we'll see. But it's just all talk, you know. Devon was always cool, but he was just kind of like Bubba's little yes man. And
I think Devon's cool as fuck.
He's cool as shit.
He's just floating by.
And Bubba had his moments too, but for the most part, I think he was just bitter, you know, putting over a new group of new guys. And I remember when we won the titles in Winnipeg, fucking Pat Patterson. No, it was Finley. Finley came up to Pete and I and we were like, oh, I just saw the Dudleys camping outside of Vince's office for like 20 minutes. And we're like, really? He goes, yeah. And I went up to them and I said, what are you guys doing? They said, nothing. And I said, you guys aren't here to change the match? And they were like, no. And so I told them, well, see you then. And they just kind of shrugged their shoulders and walked off. And when Fit told us that, we just thought it was so funny.
Fit's alright, man.
Yeah, he's alright.
He's got his moments.
Really? The Dudleys are politicking? Like, and so that was one of my early introductions to politics. Just like guys that would camp outside of Vince's office and wait to schmooze him and tell him that they thought this was more productive than what, you know, it's disgusting. And Bubba eventually lightened up when he knew I'd probably fucking murder him if he fucking pushed me. And there was a time when I remember we were in Europe and Renee was at ends there, and he was kind of like just getting disillusioned with the whole place. He was like, God, is this what we worked for and everything? And we were in Italy.
Is that when he whipped his dick out?
Yeah, it is. And I said, this is a fine dick, even though it has an anteater fucking tip on it. I don't know if it's
no, does he have one of those?
I think he isn't. Yeah, we still
come on,
anteater dick.
You know, I ain't Jewish, but I got that shit clipped. Yeah,
why not? Anyways, we were talking and just bullshit on the beach and being friends and kind of being there for each other.
Talking about foreskin?
For sure. And we came back to the locker room the next day and I remember Bubba was sitting there with all the guys and was like, I heard you guys had a nice stroll on the beach. Nice romantic walk on the beach. Just trying to stir shit. It was like, how old are you really, man? Come on, this is the best you got? I got high school coaches fucking berated me and yelled at me and got to me more than this fucking clown. And it was just like things like that, where he to try to make examples out of you, and your fucking tag partner wouldn't stand up for you. He's a fucking puss. And but I just held my own. I was like, hey man, two friends walking, like, just didn't do anything. I was just like, hey, whatever. And eventually Taker was like, hey man, you handled yourself real well in there. I was like, what do you mean? The match? He was like, no, in the locker room. Guys trying to push you around, and you held your own. That's good. Yeah, it's real good.
Thanks, boss.
And so I started to kind of like get to feel like, oh, okay, this is how this kind of place works, and it was what it was. But as far as teaming with Kidman, and I recently did a show in the Northeast with his nephew.
Bats.
Yeah,
we helped him get hired. No bullshit.
Mikey Bats.
We got him hired.
Good dude. We got him hired for the junior division because they thought he was a midget.
To work with Super Porky and
Octagoncito and shit. But he reffed one of my matches recently, and he was like, "Hey man, I heard you didn't like Kidman, and Pete thought you I was like, well, he was a dick. He threw me under the bus, He was he wasn't there. He was more for me less than he was there for me, and so it is what it is. I don't have any feelings against him now, You know, I'm not the one that got caught banging some pig when I was dating Tori. You know, whatever. It's not my issue. None of it is. Whatever. I just go where my dick leads me.
That's no good either, man.
Oh shit! No, I don't. I don't have a dick. I cut it off, actually.
Yeah.
I'm like a Ken doll.
You know, that's a good idea.
I have a stub.
Honestly,
Yeah. I have a stub.
castrate yourself.
I actually do. When
You'll
a
be
girl
a lot
wants to get
better off.
fucked, I attach one. It's kind of like the rocket cock.
This motherfucker. Hey, let's go put matches together. We go downstairs. This motherfucker is hanging out with the girls for 45 minutes straight.
That's not.
Seeing which one of these he can fuck.
What? Come
I'm
on.
not saying, well,
No.
yeah, but he was
Most
with the
of
girls
them.
for 45 minutes straight.
They're easy.
Nice girl. Everybody's nice here.
Except the ones that take steroids. They have very big clits. It's disgusting.
Is that so bad?